Yo, what's up, friend? Hope you're doing good. Hey, listen, you're about to see this. This is a project that we've been thinking about, having ideas about for a while now, but it is the making of a message. I released a book called God Chose Me. You can go pick that up wherever you get your books. CharlesMetcalf.com will be easier for you. You can go there and order it right this second. But this is a conversation. This one specifically is with me and my wife, the love of my life, Miss Rose, Abby Rose, and we really talk about the journey of writing the book, how the process began, the struggles of going through these moments together, and really the power that came out of that on the other side. So my hope is that this time would encourage you, that you would take a moment and share this with your friends, share it on social media, and also, if it impacts you, go grab the book. Buy one for you, for a friend. CharlesMetcalf.com is the easiest way to do that. But I love you very, very much. Pray this is encouraging to you, and have a great day.
Hello.
Hi.
We are here for something very exciting and special.
Yes.
We are talking about your first book.
First book
God
ever.
Chose Me.
God chose you.
He did.
Yeah.
No, this is such an exciting time for us personally, because I feel like we've talked about you being an author. You've officially entered your author era, and we've talked about this for so long.
I'm officially in my author era. Feels great.
I love it because
I've been in it for a year now.
Yes.
I guess it's weird. I have been an author for a year.
Yeah.
But my book isn't out yet. So
It's
that's
true.
weird.
You became an author before the book
I
came
became
out.
an author in July of 2024.
Yes, so almost a year. We're getting on a year.
True.
But you have always been a person that you're an artist, and you have so many different forms that you create in. And I've always said that even about your preaching, it's so, the way you craft a sermon is so poetic and artful. And it made me super excited for just getting to see like how you would craft this book.
Yeah.
And it's been really exciting to watch. I feel like
you've actually haven't read my book. Or have you read some of it?
Yes, I've read some of it, and I feel like
I mean,
I haven't read it.
You know the book because
I was gonna say,
you've
but
heard.
I've listened to the audiobook.
Yes,
I was
You're
first
the first
one.
person to have the audiobook.
Probably not like chronologically. I think
Yes.
I have the audiobook and like jumped around and how you wrote it, not how it ended up being published.
That's very
But
true.
It's also very cool because I said this to you. We had a dinner for you to celebrate that you wrote the book.
Which was amazing.
It was so fun. We all wore yellow and black. There were yellow
Yes.
and black flowers. It was super fun.
That was very special.
And all of our friends took time to encourage you and like speak life
Yes.
over you.
I cried like a baby. It was amazing.
As you should have. It was so good. But I feel like I was the first like test dummy for God Chose Me. Like all of
Yes.
these principles I got to really like use and live out as you were writing them.
Yeah.
And it changed my life last year.
Oh, thank you.
And so I'm just excited for other people to get to experience that.
Yeah.
I was in like a season of depression and anxiety. And as you were writing this, simultaneously, you were encouraging me with the same things that you
That's
were
crazy.
writing.
Yeah.
And I stand today like way more confident than I even was like before having kids, which is a very crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
Like for moms, I feel
Yeah.
better about myself emotionally, physically, mentally, all those things because of so many of the mindset changes that happened for me through the principles that you have written about.
Thank you,
So
man.
I'm really excited. It's affected me so personally, not just because you're my husband and you wrote this book, but because it actually changed the way that I think now. And I would just love for you to even talk about like how, because you weren't always this confident. How did you get here? Because we were in 2020.
Yes.
You tell this story often when you preach.
Yeah.
That you were in our house and I called our friends because you were having a panic attack. It was 2 a.m. They were coming over to the house to pray over you, write messages and little notes to leave for you, to encourage you, to remind you that you were chosen, basically.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
here we stand today. You have written a book to help people with confidence.
Yeah.
And I would just love for you to talk about kind of like how you got from there to here.
Yes. Well, first, I just got to say thank you. I love you so much. I think you have been such a source of confidence for me. And you, outside of my parents, probably the person who believed in me the most throughout my life. My little brother will be up on that list as well. But you, day in and day out, for the last 10 years, have seen stuff in me that I didn't see it myself. Before I was an author, you called me an author. Before I was a preacher, you called me a preacher. There's a lot of things that you have seen in me. And so I just want to say thank you. We shot a bunch of videos that people may have seen before doing this.
Yeah.
Because I am trying to be in my author era, and I did not like it. But I also want to tell people about my book, but just I love sitting down with you and talking with you. And so, yes, I think it would be good to go back because I think Metcalfs have some natural like instincts on confidence. Like they're just some natural, and I think it's just maybe it's partly how we were raised, partly just our life experience and things like that. But I've realized that everybody has some sort of makeup of where they get their confidence from. Just as kids, like we have 4 kiddos, and so each one of our kids are confident in different ways. Arlo is really smart and has so many different facts and things that he knows. And so maybe you could say he gets his confidence from knowledge and what he knows. Luna is very outspoken, and so she gets her confidence maybe from her words. And Jade, she dresses really well. She loves clothes. And so many different things. But I think my childhood, I had confidence from sports and from what I did and all these different things. But I think the process of getting to God Chose Me was realizing that those are all beautiful ways to get confidence, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just at some point they meet their end. Yeah. And I think everybody in life has had that experience, that at some point the thing that made you feel special, you don't feel as special anymore because someone dresses cooler, someone has more money, someone is more pretty, someone is more successful. And so I think the time you're talking about in our life, I kind of ran to the end of all my sources of confidence. What I did, my title as a pastor, my title as being someone people kind of knew in a small world, but all these different things, they kind of ran short. And so accompanied with just a season of depression and anxiety. And I think I was so overwhelmed and kind of looking around for like, where was this confidence going to come from? And it was either I was going to find it or I was just going to completely abandon ship. And abandoning ship for me was a lot of different things, but I just think that's the reality of where I was. And I think I was talking to somebody and they were like, man, you preach this message with such confidence and it's so intense and loud, and even the colors of the book are bold, yellow, and I just said, yeah, but the book was written from the exact opposite place. Like it was written from, it's really dark, really didn't know who I was or what I was going to do. And so anyways, I think my hope is, even with the book, is that people would know even how I open the book is not with like confidence. I open it with the darkest moment of my life. And so I think that is really the hope of the book, is to show people, like, no matter how dark it seems, from wherever you are, you can find a source of confidence and contentment and joy and courage to move forward. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure, but one that has been laced with hard times. And so yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, very
it's
crazy.
Very cool too to think back. You said it, but it was October 12th, 2023.
Yes. Yeah.
Was when you preached this sermon for our conference that we had, and
which was one of the most crazy one of the most crazy preaching experiences I've ever had in my life. Probably, definitely the most crazy experience.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, like prepping for it.
Yeah.
And like getting the sermon ready versus when you came off the stage.
Yes.
Like because it felt like something switched for you.
Yeah.
In the middle of the sermon, and it was just oh shoot, he was made for this. Like, this is what he was created for. And people said that to you right when you got off the stage, like, bro, this is your life message. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. What did that feel like because I would assume none of your sermons before that felt the way that did.
No, that was it was at Transformation Conference, which is like the most supercharged atmosphere in the most beautiful way you could ever be in. It's all like our friends and family from around the world that are part of our church that come together in October every year. And it's just beautiful. So that's a layer of it. But prepping the sermon, which is a surreal story in itself, I wrote this sermon with someone I look up to a lot and has now become a best friend,
Yeah.
Carl Lentz.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy, surreal thing to even think about that part of it, that me and him are sitting in my office and I'm like, yo, I want to preach for I'm preaching for conference. I always do the morning session. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so he kind of just starts asking me a bunch of questions and he's like, yo, what about this? What about this? And we were at it for like 30 minutes, just like questions. And I'm like, I don't know. And it kind of gets to the point where he's like, you know how Carl is. Shout out, Carl. I love you, coach. He's kind of on my head, and he's like, what about this? And what about that? What about that? And I kind of reach a point where I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, be quiet. Like, and I say, man, I guess the truth is the only reason I'm here is because God chose me. And no lie, when I said it, he goes, okay. And he kind of sat up, and I was like, I mean, really, man, that's all I got. Like, God chose me. Like, I'm not qualified. I don't have it all figured out, but God, and like I remember sitting in my office like it was yesterday. He's sitting across from me and he's like, bro, that's something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that was kind of the spark of the idea. And so I write it all out. I had 3 points. I ended up adding a fourth one, really inspired by him and stuff. But I mean, I think I came up on the stage and I kind of it started like every other sermon, you know? And even when I said the title, it wasn't even, it was like, I said it, God chose me. And I kind of saw, I remember seeing, I think I've never seen a sermon. It felt like I watched the sermon go from a spark to like a fire, a massive bonfire in the room as I preached it. And it was such a cool, and I think that's the thing that was exciting to make it a book, was like I saw it happen in real time. Yeah. That like from the first time I said those 3 words, people were like, okay. And by the end of it, the room is like standing up. I mean, I literally screamed the last 3 words of that sermon I preached. I screamed, God chose me, into the mic, and then walk off the stage. And the whole room's like, whoa. And so it was just such a surreal, like, it was just a moment of like really God anchoring in me. Like, hey, bro, I really did. I really did choose you. And yeah, it was super surreal. I think I hugged Mike and then I hugged you and started crying because it just felt like that was something special that God gave to me. And I think somehow it felt like it was special. Like even when I came off and talking to you and talking to friends and Carl and Laura, like everybody was kind of like, what was that?
Yeah, it was different.
Something. So anyways, that was a super special memory for sure.
It's also cool too because I feel like the sermon that you first preach versus everything, all of the content that's in the book, it has evolved so beautifully and there's so many layers to it now.
I just realized I don't even know. Okay, yeah, I did. I was about to say I don't know if I put the 3 points from the sermon in the book, but I did. But yes, it's grown a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's very cool to see. And even now, it's almost, you haven't done your sermon series yet on God Chose Me at Transformation, but as you've preached in different places, it's almost like it's become this series of thoughts and collection of thoughts that you've preached and that you've written down. Which one do you feel like, is there one that you could pick, like a specific topic or a specific thing that you've taught on with God Chose Me that is like changed you the most throughout this process, or like a revelation you didn't even realize at the beginning?
Yeah. I think, man, that was the cool thing I think I liked about writing, was the book changed me as I wrote it.
It's really cool.
And so I feel like
I saw that happen. I feel like you could very much see it. And it was, as you continued to write, it was like you were believing it more and more. And it was very cool to see. Yeah.
I think I feel like I experienced the book as I wrote it. So it wasn't like, because a lot of people who are in my position, specifically pastors, they preach a sermon series and then they write the book based upon what they've preached. And I had one message. So I didn't have like all these concepts built out and know like, okay, this is going to be the book. I knew the title and I knew what it felt like. And that was the real thing. That's kind of how I'm a very like intuitive person in that way. Like I know like, okay, the sermon should feel like this, or the outfit I'm wearing should feel like this. So writing the book was really from just this feeling. Like it was just this gut, like God chose me and I know what it should feel like. And I know what I want people to feel like when they hear it and when they read it. And so I think the process of like getting it out and how it changed and it changing me was such a cool thing to realize. There were so many different things I think I wrote about. One idea that always comes up to me because I love the title was, I think it's I don't know what chapter number it is, but a singular symphony. And it was the idea that like a symphony is a piece of music that is beautifully orchestrated by the conductor of the orchestra. And an orchestra is hundreds. I think I say it in my book, the biggest orchestra ever is like 8,000 people.
That's crazy.
It was like thousands of violins and thousands of, and so saying that like humans are a singular symphony. So like we're one person, but on the inside of us are all these different instruments and all these different gifts and all these different experiences. And I think as me and you have talked about it, but like growing up, sometimes you feel like you can only be one thing.
Yep.
And so I think the idea that like it's solidified is like, man, I am Charles, but there's so much in me, and I want all those things to beautifully come out.
Yep.
Like, and so if only the cello is playing, it sounds and it's beautiful, but when they all begin to kind of mix together, that's when like the beauty comes out. And I think I've seen that in you. Like people know you for so many different things, but like it's when you are in your creative genius mom who's loving and hosting, and like when you're doing all of it at the same time is like, oh, that's like the most beautiful thing. And so I think that was one that really stuck out to me. That was just like, man, to get people to embrace that, like man, you are so creative and so beautiful in more than one way.
Yeah.
And maybe you haven't found it yet, but that still doesn't mean it's not true. And so that one was a really big one. And then I think the last chapter is called It's Never Too Late to Come Home. I genuinely cried as I wrote this chapter because it was just for all the people who feel like they've done too many bad things to be chosen. And I felt that way a lot of times. But I think that one was very personal. Yeah. And me and you know that. But I think it was just super personal. So those were special.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting, talking about your creative process of the cover.
Ayo.
And we did like a really fun cover shoot with the kids running
so
around everywhere. We did it at the basement of our church.
Yes. Shout out to Grayson and Adler and Clark and MC who were there.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron. She put it all together.
It was so fun. I feel like, but even you are someone, if someone knows you, they hear the name. They know
I love kayaking, comic books. No,
guys, Charles just spoke at a conference, and his interesting facts were facts that were completely not true about him.
My facts.
That he loved to grill.
I love to grill. I can't grill for my life. My friend Ty is the person who grills in my life.
Me and Ty use our grill way more than this man ever has. Yeah. It was just a very funny thing. Yes. But if anyone who really knows you hears your name, they think of like you are just a style icon. Like, and I'm not just saying that, but it really feels like you have just these like random, bold, crazy, iconic, like wild things that other people can't pull off, but you do. And then with your book cover, I was so interested to see like, okay, how is he gonna run with this one? And I love it because it's so bold, but it's so classic. And then you flip it over to the back, and it's so personal. Yeah. And
this would be the point where I was supposed to have a picture of my book, and I would be like, here it is.
Put it here. Ding. Ding. Front and back. But the back is so personal. I'd never seen the back of a book where it was just genuinely like so many different, you said that a singular symphony and the pieces that like all the different parts of you, you show that on the back of the book. You show you being a pastor, a father, an artist, a writer, all these things. But how did you get there with the iconic black and yellow? I feel like now even the sticker, like we put it on the back of our phones and now it's just this awesome, it's been so good for like marketing.
It really has. That was the best unintentional marketing idea I've done. No, I think I felt like I wanted to do something my friend Mike told me, my book agent, best friend, boss brother, pastor, shout out. But he said, first priority is make sure the contents are good. He's like, this book has to be valuable to people, and you have to know that it's adding value when they read it. And so he was like, fight for every page, work hard on that. Like, do not sacrifice anything on the actual content of the book. So I honestly like fought for that. And kind of got overwhelmingly obsessed with like this book has to be good, and even the art of it and everything. I just really cared about it. And so along that process, my book process was also very short. So usually a runway for a book is like 24 months. Mine was like 10 months.
And a month and a half of that, you were out with a concussion from getting hit by a car.
Yes, amazing.
Casual.
So, so all that to say, it honestly was like I was so obsessed with like making sure the book content was good that then when it came to like, oh shoot, the creative, obviously I really care about that. So that part was a little more rushed than I would want it to be, but I'm so grateful for where it landed. But yeah, I think it started with I knew I wanted it to be bold.
Yeah.
I knew I would like the message God chose me. It has to stick out. So I wanted it simple, but also bold.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the foundation of it. And I knew like big, bold font on the front. Like I want it very simple in that way. So it started there. And then I knew also I didn't want to do a traditional my face on the front of the book. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want you to see the message God chose me and think about my face. I want you thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And who you are. So I knew a couple of those things, but yeah, it all happened at different moments. But one of the first things was thinking of I watched the movie Kill Bill on on an airplane, which is a wild movie. But just that like iconic black and yellow. She's wearing an all leather like suit. It's just amazing. Like the tigers, the shoes are having like a cultural moment at the time. Like there's just a lot of moving pieces. The Tour de France is yellow. So there are a lot of like different portions of it that I was like, oh, I think this yellow and black would be like iconic. Like that's a thing that I think of like, oh, something bold and like memorable. So the black and yellow, and then honestly, I went through a bunch of different design versions of it. I had like a whole list of people who I credit on the creative process of the book. Grayson, Todd, Andler Sire, JV, and all of town, MC. My little brother, probably the most intricately involved because it mattered to me that he thought it was cool for sure. Because I think I honestly, outside of pretty much people in this room, you, Chan, and Lori, I don't really care if people think what I do is cool, but like y'all four, I'm like, if they think it's cool, then I'm good. But if y'all are like, Charles, that's completely stupid, I still might do it, but it affects me more than other people. But I think, so yeah, all that to say, I knew I didn't want my face on the cover. And then I started thinking about the content of the book, even the Singular Symphony thing. And where it landed was, I was on a call with JV and MC and Matt, and we were talking, and pretty much Matt, I can't remember who said it for, I think it was Matt, but it might have been JV. He was like, you are so different. And he's like, there's so many different versions of you. Like, I've seen you with braids. I've seen you with a mustache, with no mustache, with bleached hair, shaved head, bald head, like all these different styles. And he was like, it would be dope to show all of the sides of you through the book. And so that was kind of the seed idea of it. And then once I got it, I was like, oh, and I started talking about it and with Chan and Andler and Grayson and talking about the idea. And so anyways, it landed where the back of the book is all these different photos, and they all represent different parts of who I am. And the kind of summation, the concept of it is we all have these different parts of us that we show to the world, that we learn about when we're kids. One of the pictures kind of represents my hometown, like all these different things. And as you grow up, I think I have a fear, I think a lot of people can have a fear that not everybody would choose all of you. Like, they might like you for what you do, but if they really knew the thoughts you had, or if they really knew how kind of quirky you were or whatever, and the concept is God is the only person who chooses all of you. And so I think, and you can be confident in all those parts of you. And so the creative process was so much fun. And we may or may not, I may do a conversation later on with my brother about it because he was so in it. But it was really, really fun. And I'm very proud of it. That's one thing I think Mike pushed really hard for me, was like, work really hard so you can be really proud of it, because you don't want to leave anything. And that's how I feel. So yeah, that was super, super fun.
I think one of my favorite parts of the design aspect is literally because you did the hoodie for the first time. You got a yellow hoodie.
Yes.
You grabbed these Sharpies, which it was nothing special as it was happening.
It was not a thing, no.
Because you grab hoodies. Thanks, Lori.
Shout out to our producer, Lori. Lori just hit Abby in the head with a hoodie.
No, this one's Chandler's.
This is what,
When he first made his, he literally just got a yellow hoodie. He's getting out Sharpies and just starts going. And
this was 2 a.m. You were asleep.
Yes.
I was in my closet, and I was just like, it was church the next morning, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to wear.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that was the first one.
Yes.
Yeah. But you like have all these random designs on it, and then everybody started seeing it, and they started wanting them. Oh, I said it's not random because you are constantly doing stuff to clothes all the time.
Yes.
I have a running joke. It's like Charles cuts everything. He's always looking for scissors, and then he'll leave the scissors in the worst places. We have 4 toddlers, and they'll be like open scissors laying on the bed. And I'm like, you're going to hurt someone. But this, I was just like, oh, yeah, this doesn't surprise me. But then also when I saw it, I was like, this is actually crazy. Yeah. Everybody started asking for them, our friends and stuff. But then you drew like these stars, the fire, this checkered patch, the LA, the New York, there's, and then the crosses over here, and these are literally the elements that are on your book.
Yes,
like we took the renderings and put them on there. Crazy. So I think there's probably a lot of people that have seen, like even the pre-order thing that you post on Instagram. It has all these very cool hand-drawn designs, but you actually drew them, and that's what I mean when I say like you're such an artist. Like your artist footprint is in so many of these little aspects of the book. But I think that's my favorite thing is like the doodles and all that is like literally your drawings.
It really came. I'm wearing these shoes right now. Shout out to Stinky Feet, but these have I drew all over these shoes. But I think. Yeah, I think I am really grateful for that part. And it was funny, I had landed on a design I felt pretty good about, and I showed it to Mike. And he was like, this is dope. But he said, but it looks like a book everybody else would do, not the book you would do. And I was just like, dang, bro, like, you don't know what I would do. Like, but it was he was just right. Yeah. It was like, it was dope, but it didn't have my extra whatever. And he was like, when people see this cover, it need to look like, oh, that's Charles Metcalf. And he said, like that hoodie you did, what if you drew all over the book and kind of started, and I was like, I don't know. So literally I took a picture of the hoodie, sent it to JV. He pulled like I don't even know how he finessed it off there. It's probably easy, but I was like, magic. And he put them all over the book. And so that is a super special thing. And then now these have become really cool, like things I've given to friends and stuff. And no, that is a really cool element that I'm very, very, it's just cool.
Which you might be doing something special with the hoodies possibly.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully we can the thing is, I actually hand draw all of these. Yeah. It doesn't take super long.
It wouldn't be the same though if you like tried to actually.
No. Well, trying to make them, if I might be able to make them. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yes, it is just a labor of love. And so I want to do it right. So anyways, yes.
The hoodie is one of my favorite things, and
cool.
all the
doodles and things on it.
Symbols. I don't know what else to call them. The symbols.
Icons. Let me ask you a question. What has been and it's kind of a weird question, but what have you seen change the most about me, or even the message from like, I mean, you saw me preach it, and then you know what the book is. Yeah. From your, I'm interested your seat on like observing, you kind of were able to like, almost said, watch the monkey through the window. I don't know what that means. Like you're at a zoo? What does that mean? I don't know, man. Listen, when you're a genius, you gotta catch these thoughts as they come. Anyways,
oh, Lord.
As you were watching the monkey through the window, what was your experience?
No, I think the biggest change that I've seen in you, it's kind of more deep, but it's honest to what I've seen. Literally, I feel like you processing, we talked about in 2020, you going through depression and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And the biggest thing that would affect you then, it was like just some mornings you'd wake up just being off, or like situations that were stressful or stuff like that. Like it felt like whenever you got low, it was really hard for you to come back up quick, or even just in a neutral spot. Like the lows were really low. And I think now I've just seen things that would have usually taken you there don't anymore. And that's been one of the coolest things for me to see, or even stressful situations that even we're going through as a family or whatever it may be. Like I feel like usually I'm just like the optimistic, like I'm the
glass half full. Yes. For sure.
One time our friend's house had burnt down.
Literally burned to the ground.
And it was that night we drove over there. And I said to them, I was trying to be encouraging, but it was
Wrong
not the
wrong
right
time.
moment. And I was just like, well, at least you get to rebuild it. It's going to be so beautiful. And it's
Exactly
like,
how you want it.
That's
if
not,
they have good insurance,
Yeah,
hopefully.
listen.
We don't know that.
My grandparents' store had just gone through a fire and they got to completely remodel, and it was even better than before.
They
so I was
actually
just trying
did
to
get
be
to do that,
encouraging.
so thank
Yes.
God.
But I can just be way too optimistic, but I feel like I was always trying to like pull you out of things,
Yes, for sure.
or even get frustrated, like, why are you so mad? Like, let's be happy, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think seeing even stressful seasons, it's like they just don't take you out the way they used to.
Yeah.
And you are helping other people through mindset stuff. And hey, like, if the way you think matters, and if you believe these things about yourself, then you don't have to sit in this situation. Things like that have, it's a complete 180 in your life and who you were 5 years ago to now. It's wild because it genuinely is like your mindset, the way you think, truly believing that God chose you, truly believing these principles. They're not just a good idea, because I feel like you and other preachers, whatever, it's easy to come up with good ideas, but you are someone who truly like lives out the things that you talk about, and you preach from experience versus just a good idea. They're things that you've tested or are testing and are going through. And this is genuinely, it's changed you, which has changed our family. And seeing our kids even get to have these tools as they're growing up. I think about that with you and I. We've talked about that a few times. Like, can you imagine if we, like the confessions that we do with our kids in the morning, or just the mindset when they're feeling down or whatever, like, if we would have had these tools, where would we be now? Right? Because it would be unstoppable.
Right,
and, I think that's the biggest thing, though, is just genuinely, I remember I just used to be worried about that. I used to be worried about you, and I used to be wanting to make sure that you were okay, and I don't want you to feel depressed. I don't want you to feel anxious or all these things. And fast forward 5 years, and you're one of the most encouraging, uplifting, kind, present people, and it's just wild to see. Yeah.
I do think the kids thing is really cool. I think it's just a special. Yeah, I want to raise kids that. I think when I preached it, I started off talking about our kids when I first preached the message, and the kind of frame I used was, there are things about our children that I don't want them to have to discover, but I want to decide for them as their dad, and they just believe it as truth. And I think that's kind of, my premise in the book is like, there are things you can leave in your life to discover, or there are things you can realize God's decided about you. And one of the things he's decided about you is that he chose you. Galatians 1:15, before I was born, God chose me, Paul says. And so I think it is really cool to see. We are trying to raise really, really confident kids that know who they are, and know that they have things they're good at, and know that they don't have to know everything, and know that it's okay to make a mistake, but like, mistakes don't make you who you are. And that try really hard and work really hard and give everything they have. I don't know. I do think part of this message for me is super important for our kids to feel like, hey, you are so important and you're so special. And if God feels that way about you, how could it feel, and how would you live if you felt that way about you? And so it's a cool like experiment to see it in our kids. And I think obviously we've got a ways to go to raise these babies, but I think I see it in them, how they walk in a room, what they say, how they speak and speak up. I think our kids do believe some of the stuff we tell them. And so I think the work of this book is to try to maybe rewire that for some big kids who are just older, who had nobody to tell them that life, maybe they did believe it at some point, but life knocked them down to feel like I'm not as special as maybe I thought I was. And those are all just lies. You're more special than you think you are. And your life's way more intentional than you may think it is. And God's got a way more intentional plan than you could probably ever imagine. And if you just begin to believe that daily, it has potential to change how you show up in the world, how you view the world, and the impact you make on the world. And so, it's super special.
One more thing I want you to talk about.
Yes.
When you you've talked about it in sermons before as well, but how you landed on your tagline, because this was not the first tagline. It
No.
was originally the only answer to every question.
Uh-huh.
And then you started like really wrestling with it, and you
Yeah, for a
started
while.
asking questions, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's already done. Just
Yes.
leave it, like whatever.
Yes.
And talk about how the moment of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And even the decision to put the word Christian in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because not that we are not proud to be Christians,
Yeah.
but I feel like you are hesitant to like come out strong with that word, because we have so many people that we love that are not Christians or have been hurt
Yes.
by the church or by a Christian before.
Yeah.
And just in the caution for that,
Yeah.
and loving people and not wanting to detour someone
Yes.
who would maybe not likely pick up the book if it has Christian just blasted on the front, to get somebody to read this book and see like, oh, whoa, this could change my life.
Yeah.
But I loved hearing you talk about like why you decided to put that on there. So I think it'd be cool for you to share
Yes,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, the original tagline was the only answer to every question, which I still really like. It was a very cool idea. When we were first talking about the idea of the book, me and Mike, we were in an airport together walking around, and I remember when I think he said it, and I was like, "Oh, that's good." We wrote it down, and I think as I wrestled with it, it fell into this bucket of things that I have in my life that are, the way I articulate it are ultimately true, but sometimes not functionally true.
Yeah.
So ultimately true is things like we say, God's never going to let us down. Ultimately true, meaning like, yes, in the scheme of your life, God will never let you down. Functionally, there are times in my life it feels like he let me down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do feel the emotion of
for
disappointment
sure.
from God many times.
Yeah.
So I think when I started like going to thinking about talking about the book, when I was saying the only answer to every question, I just thought of all my friends who have very nuanced lives and nuanced things they're going through. And it doesn't always feel like, you know, I just lost this person I love. And it's like, well, God chose you. So it's like, okay, yes. Like, you know what I'm saying? But what? And so I think I felt that. And I think one thing that I've fought for in my sermons and now in my writing is I have to believe it on a deep level. And if I don't believe it, it's going to be hard for me to get you to believe it. And so I didn't want to put out a book that I didn't believe wholeheartedly. And so I fought for months of like, is this it? Is this it? And pretty much I got past the deadline of when the book was supposed to be done. And I was like, well, like I kind of put it in some captions, like teasing the book, and people were like, that's so cool.
Yeah, people loved it.
Yes. And so it was like, all right, great. Like, and you know, I trust my friend who like was saying it was like, so there's so many factors that I was like, this is great. And I don't know anything different. So, but I said it earlier when we were talking, but I knew what the book was supposed to feel like. And I had written the book, but I felt like it was still missing the edge, like the gangster, the swag, the like, just the energy of like how I wanted it to feel, really how I felt when I preached it.
Yeah.
It felt like the book was good and I knew it was valuable, but when I preached it, I felt like, oh, yo, I was made for like just a level of like intensity. And so the book didn't have that, and I knew it needed that. And so it's very funny, but I was playing basketball with my friend, and after the game was over, it was super fun. Me and him were talking about playing basketball. And a funny thing my friend said, he was like, you have like a bag that is just like, I don't care about you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you shoot shots. He was kind of roasting me, I realized, but he was like, you could shoot the shot regular, but you'll step off one foot, fall backwards, and shoot it that way. And it was funny. So we were joking about that. And I remember getting home talking to you, and I was like, babe, we were playing basketball, blah, blah, blah. And pretty much I landed on, man, God chose me really feels like that. Yeah. It feels like when you're just doing whatever you were made to do or whatever you're good at or whatever you've worked really hard at, and you know you're doing good, and you're just like, yeah. Like, it's moments when you're painting, screaming SZA lyrics. Like, when you got your headphones on and you're just in there painting, and it's like, it's just those moments. And so I knew the book felt like that. Yeah. And so that feeling was the word untouchable. And so I knew it needed confidence in there. So it was untouchable confidence. And then Acts 5, there's a story. These men, the guy says, hey, listen, if this is from God, you will not be able to stop these men. And so just the energy of like this movement of God has been unstoppable from the beginning. They tried to kill Jesus when he was a baby, couldn't do it. When he was 33, couldn't do it. Started feeding Christians to lions in the Colosseum, couldn't do it. Sent the church underground, couldn't stop it. Like so many different things of like our faith is unstoppable. So I had untouchable confidence for unstoppable, and then it was a blank. And it was an unstoppable life, an unstoppable spirit, an unstoppable soul, an unstoppable. And I put every word in that blank.
Faith, I think.
Yeah, unstoppable faith. Every word except the word Christian. And again, it's not because I'm ashamed to be a Christian.
Right.
It's because there's a quote that says, words don't mean things. People mean things by the words they use.
Yeah.
So an easy example is, ooh, that's bad. It can either mean bad, like not good, or it can mean bad, which means good.
Yeah.
And so what I was aware of is that the word Christian is a very charged word, depending on your experience. For some people, Christian is an endearing word of someone who showed loving kindness and grace to them. For other people, it's a source of fear and judgment and shame.
Yeah.
And so I just knew the book says God chose me. God is a word that people could interpret 1,000 different ways. And so just adding the word Christian on there, I was just very aware of like, if I want to do that and make this a Christian book? Like, and yes, it is a Christian book, but just how people would perceive it, all those different things. And so I'm thinking about it, talking about it with multiple different people. And I had called my publisher and I said, hey, I need to make a few adjustments to the book. And my editor, Drew, shout out to Drew. He was like, yo, man, it's already good. You turned it in. And I was like, yes, but just a few adjustments. He's like, I'll give you 24 hours. I was like, okay. And so I'm sitting in a Starbucks, Utica Square. I call my friend Fillmore and I'm talking to him. I'm like, yo, bro, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking. And I'm debating whether or not to put the word Christian in there. And I just really respect Fillmore, how he navigates those things. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I see both sides, you know, like whatever. Like we're kind of talking about it. And as we're talking, I really feel in my heart, in my spirit, what I would say is like the impression of God or God talking to me, which just felt like a thought in my head that came up like, hey, people died for that word. And I remember sitting there like, what? And it was like, that word Christian. And immediately, I cannot make this up, saw like a picture in my mind of a family in a home. And it's a very old home. And they're like sitting around the table and there's like a bang on the door. And it's like boom, 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 boom. And everybody is like terrified. And they start hiding. And the dad's like, and I'm not, I mean, this is just, it came to my head as I'm sitting in the coffee shop. And the dad's like, hide, hide, hide. And he's telling everybody to hide. And he walks up to the door and he opens the door. And the guy says, are you a Christian? And I remember thinking like, I mean, it felt like a movie, but it was like, if he says no, he's lying, but he lives. If he says yes, they're going to kill him. And I just thought of the years and years and years of persecution that the churches went through. And not persecution in the means that 2025 people say, which is just a comment of someone who doesn't like what you do, but persecution of people losing their life for proclaiming that they were a follower of Jesus Christ. And I just thought like, man, I am not going to back up off this word. Like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And you may have an experience that I wish you wouldn't have, but it doesn't make this word not have the power it has. And you're not going to decide the power of this word. This word is powerful because it is to be a little Christ. It is to be someone who is surrendered their life to Jesus and living like his fire lives on the inside of you. And I got to say this moment, Fillmore was so encouraging. He literally like spoke so much life over me. He was like, man, I'm believing God's going to give you an inspiration to redeem some of the hurt that people experience with that word. And so I just believed that. I was like, man, like untouchable conference for the unstoppable Christian. And it was like 4:30. And once I got that phrase, it was like, oh, let's go. Like I got home, I think we did dinner, and then I went to the office and it was the easiest writing. I wrote 9,000 more words. It's
crazy.
Which is a lot, which is
Wild.
4 or 5 more chapters. But like I did it in, I mean, I went to bed that night at like 11:30, midnight maybe. Like it wasn't like I stayed up all night, but I reread the whole book, rewrote every chapter, the new tagline into it, added chapter 3, which is an unstoppable movement, added another chapter, 2 more chapters at the end, just rewrote the whole book literally in like 5 hours. And when I hit send on that thing, I knew like this is the book I was made to write. And so, yeah, I think that moment of fighting for that, and I say all of that to say, I do think it's super important for people creatively and artists, and not even just artists, anybody, humans, to fight for what they know.
Yeah.
And to fight for what they believe in, fight for the idea, fight for your kids, fight to raise the kids how you know you're supposed to raise them. We've had moments like that with our kids, whether they're homeschool or send them to school.
Yeah.
And we felt like we were supposed to homeschool. So we fought for that idea. And I think there are people who feel like they're supposed to start a business, and it's going to be way more difficult. And everybody's saying like, you don't have to, but like, if you feel it, you got to fight for it. And so I think what I have realized is when you fight for the idea, when it's released, there's a lot of freedom in being able to enjoy the idea. And that's how I feel now. Like, my book's about to come out, and I feel like, man, I feel so free because I fought like hell to get this thing, the words, the design, the cover, every piece of it to feel like what I wanted it to feel like. And so now I'm like so excited to enjoy it and for it to help people. So yeah,
I'm genuinely excited because I feel like for so long now, maybe for a decade or two, there's been just a hesitation or maybe an embarrassment even to be like, yeah, I'm a Christian. Like, that's not, it hasn't been like the cool thing
you don't lead
to
with
say.
that.
No.
Nowadays.
And I feel like it's going to spark and bring a confidence back to that word and a pride of like, no, I am. And that, to me, that means something that it might be different than what you think, what pops into your head. For me, it's I follow Jesus and I trust him with my life, and I believe that his ways make me better. And I'm just excited for a new life and a new wind to come with that word, and people like proudly owning that with a confidence. And I'm just super excited for people to read the book. Like I said at the beginning of this, it has dramatically changed my life in the last 6 months, and I know it's going to change so many people's lives. And so it's exciting because we've talked about, it felt like this was almost like the end, like you wrote it, it's coming out, blah, blah. But really, this is the beginning.
This is the beginning,
and I can't wait to hear all the stories of people after they've read it, the experience that they have, how it changes their life. And so, you can get the book. June 17th.
June 17th it comes out. It'll be everywhere.
Yep.
You can go to charlesmetcalf.com to pre-order today. But yeah, I am super grateful. Also did a study guide.
Yes.
So if you're in like a small group or church, or you and your friends want to like dig into the ideas, that's really cool. You can get that as well. But yeah.
And the study guide cover is actually very cool. I kind of like the study guide cover
a little bit more
than the book cover.
All the doodles are like
really cool.
a lot more prominent on that. And so that's really, really cool. But yeah, God chose me. And yeah, I just want to say that I really do think this book is going to help a lot of people. And I say that with the gratitude in my heart, just for you and your love and support along the whole process of it. And I'm just super excited for it to come out. And I'm excited for people to, I think because writing this book changed me, I know reading this book will change people. And so I'm excited for people to experience what it feels like to wake up and be like, dang, like, and it's not every day. Like, I still wake up feeling like, did you choose me? I know I wrote the book, but also there are days when I wake up, and at least in those moments when I have the questions, I have a reminder. No, he did. And so I'm excited. So yes, God chose me. Untouchable Confidence for the Unstoppable Christian, charlesmetcalf.com. You can get the book. And yes, thank you for watching. We didn't get to say it, but this is potentially going to be the start of a cool thing we're doing called the Metcalf Gallery, which is going to be a ton of creative projects that we do. And the first project out of the Metcalf Gallery is the book God Chose Me. We're off to hopefully a great start. So this will be a great first project. But yes, I love you very much. This was very fun.
Super fun. Thanks for watching.